I might have gotten a little heated on a radio interview. Usually I can keep my cool when they say stupid shit. But then when I tell people about kids being harmed and they either call me a liar or argue with me about that being okay, I snap. So heads up to anybody else who might interview me. There's my boundary.
Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch is an immigration attorney, and so I wanted to kind of see if I could clear some of this stuff up by chatting with her. Kate, we've had you on before. Always appreciate your insight into stuff like this, and thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let me start with this, I guess. As an immigration attorney, is this call the right call by the Supreme Court?
I agree with the decision. I think it should not have been as close as it was because Kavanaugh actually had a concurrence. So it could either be a 5-4 or a 6-3 decision, depending upon how you read the concurrence. So it wasn't a slam dunk. But ultimately, the decision of the court was that birthright citizenship is in the Constitution, and one president cannot change the Constitution by executive order. And if that would be allowed by the court, I think all of us can see how scary that would be and how far it could go.
Yeah, I've had a lot of friends on the right, on my side of things that have been like, that's the worst decision. I can't believe the Supreme Court let us down. Is that John Roberts again? And I'm like, hold on. What if, because birthright citizenship is in the Constitution, what if the next president said, screw the Second Amendment?
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what that precedent would have been, right?
Exactly. I mean, if we just allow one person with extreme politics to start rewriting our Constitution, our founding document, then there it goes. There goes the Constitution. There goes the democracy. So it is important that we maintain this. And birthright citizenship is important too. I mean, if you think about if birthright citizenship were to go away, the executive order said babies born to one parent who is undocumented no longer have the right to citizenship. And so what that would look like in practice is that we would then be requiring hospital staff or nurses to determine people's legal status, and every state would have different bureaucratic procedures. People would struggle to get birth certificates. Babies born early would not receive NICU care because they're not eligible as citizens. They might die. People wouldn't get passports. It would be different in every state. I mean, it would be a real chaotic bureaucratic nightmare beyond the constitutional question. So it just also didn't make a lot of sense. And I will also say, I know in your intro you talked about sort of anchor babies, and I've heard a lot of talk about what they're calling birth tourism. And I just want to say, I've been an immigration lawyer for 20 years in Texas, so I do have a lot of personal anecdotal experience. And what I can say is that women who are very obviously pregnant have always had difficulty getting into the country. When it's obvious that a woman is coming in to deliver a baby,
right,
it's historically she doesn't get allowed in. So it's really actually not a regular thing that people this day and age come in, have a baby, and then leave. We don't live in that world.
Right. Well, I think where that was coming from, in fairness, is that during the Biden administration they were letting a lot of people in, and they were then just okay. Well, now let's go ahead and have a baby. And so there's it's kind of this is a both sides story, right? Like, there clearly have been abuses of this in the past. Although I agree with you, it's not the biggest problem we face. It really isn't. It really isn't the biggest problem we face with immigration, and we've seen that. I mean, my dad lives on the border. I grew up on the border, and last time I was down there, which was about 3 weeks ago. Driving between Sells, Arizona and Tucson, Arizona, I passed in a 60-mile road stretch, and I counted them because I was curious, 47 Border Patrol trucks. The presence that is down there compared to the Biden administration is insane, and it's great, right? Because the flow has stopped. That's what you've got to do. You stop the flow. This felt like... And I don't know, and I'll take the side of Trump for a second, and I'll say that from his perspective, he came in and he was just trying to get as much done as quickly as possible. on this issue because he was elected for this issue partly. I mean, this is a big issue with a lot of people. But at the same time, I don't know how you feel about this, and I'd love your thoughts on this, Kate, but I am a pro-immigration, pro-strong, secure borders conservative, right? Like, I don't want to stop people from coming here to make a better life for themselves, but I have a very strict set of things that you need to do if you want to be an American. That being said, can we all admit that our immigration system is broken, right? The border aside, my tattoo artist is from South Africa, and he's here on a green card. And we were having a conversation when he was doing my tattoo. He was like, all I want to do is be an American. I came here because there's better fortunes here, and I can take my talent and I can make money with it, and I just want to buy a house and I want to be a citizen. He's been waiting 7 years. 7 years. And he jokingly said to me when I was in the tattoo chair, he said, I'm thinking about just crossing over to Mexico and coming back in illegally because I'll get more benefits. But, I mean, that's broken, Kate. That's broken.
I'm going to agree with you on this. We have a very broken system, and we have an economic need for immigrants, and immigration is good, and we don't have any positive movement. Nothing positive is happening on immigration in terms of expansion of employment visas or guest worker programs or something for the dreamers. None of that happens. And instead, what we have is this sort of vilification of immigrants during campaign season that then turns into no action, no pro-immigration action because politicians have been busy telling us that immigration is bad. And we're all suffering. All sectors of our economy are suffering, especially, home health care, care for the elderly, construction, innovation. All of our sectors are in need of more immigration, better immigration, and that part isn't happening. And we're investing as a nation billions and billions and billions of dollars, and it's being used to detain and deport people who don't have criminal histories. And again, I'll bring in my experience as an immigration lawyer in Texas. The enforcement that's going on in the interior of this country, this is separate from border, because I think a lot of people are supportive of what happened on the border. But the interior enforcement is cruel and extreme. I talked to 3 families, and I'm telling the truth as a lawyer on the radio, 3 families where parents were pulled over by police for, speeding or seatbelt or whatever it is, and the minor children were left behind in the car on the side of the road because they just take people, leave the car, leave the kids behind, and it is destructive and traumatic and harmful. And we're doing this to U.S. citizen kids and immigrant kids. And we've got to stop the support of all of this enforcement.
This is where we're gonna part ways. First of all, I'd like to see proof that these kids were left on the side of the road. I have very little issues with the interior enforcement with ICE, and the reason for that is because most of that is taking place in sanctuary cities where they do not cooperate. So when you get somebody who actually has a criminal record, and I've talked to, and I'll bring him on again, but I've talked to my friend Art Del Cueto, who's a former vice president of the Border Patrol Union. And he has said, and he says he's telling the truth as a Border Patrol agent. So, I guess I'm not calling you a liar. That's not my point, Kate. I'm just saying that I think there's 2 sides to this story. And I think let me finish my point. No, hold on a second. Let me finish my point, Kate, because I let you finish yours. The enforcement that is happening in those cities is happening because you will have a pedophile that's arrested. And those police can't even call the federal government to come and take that guy out. So what's happening, and this is coming from a former Border Patrol agent, what is happening is they're going into these houses and there's 20 or 30 illegal immigrants in there. And the one that they're after with the warrant is in there. And they cannot, as federal law enforcement agents, they simply cannot ignore the other 29 that are also violating the law because they can't pick and choose when they enforce the law, when they go in. These raids would not have to happen. They would not have to happen if a police officer in San Diego or a police officer in Louisville could pick up the phone and call ICE and say, we have a guy you guys have a detainer on, come and get him. They wouldn't need to do those raids.
don't know what's
And I'll let
going
you have the
on,
last
and
word.
you just tell people that we're lying. I'm telling you we're not lying, and when I confront you with an injustice that's happening, rather than telling me that it's just not true and that I'm lying, listen to people, listen to the truth, and say, you know what, it's not okay to leave kids behind. This is too extreme. We're not okay with our tax dollars going to fund private prison companies that are profiting people off the indefinite detention of people without criminal histories. It's okay to say we're not aligned with that. It's okay to be pro, safety at the border and anti-cruelty against children. That's allowed to do. And
so I didn't say you're not allowed to say that. I said there's what I wanted was I would like to see some evidence that kids were left in a highway on the side of the road. And the reason I said that,
I am your evidence. I'm telling you.
I feel you. I feel you, Kate. But I feel you, Kate. But what I'm saying is, there's two sides to that story, and if that's happening, of course I disagree with it. That's why I wanted, like, give me a link to that. Give me an evidence of that, because if that happened, of course that's cruel. Does that mean that the entire enforcement option is cruel? No, it means that there were a couple of stupid police officers in some area of the country that were stupid and left 3 children on the side of the road. And every single human being in the world can agree that that's stupid. It doesn't change whether or not it's the right thing to do to enforce the law.
From people, when I bring injustices like this to light, the response from people like you is, that's a lie. It's not true. And I am fatigued by all of the hard work that we're doing, telling you guys the truth of the injustice that's happening on the ground, and just being told that it's a lie instead of, you know what, that's not okay.
Okay, you're a lawyer. You're a lawyer, so you should know. I did not say it was a lie. I said provide me with evidence of that. That should be, you should be completely comfortable with it.
I'm telling you it happened.
Okay. It's one piece of evidence, and the reason why I said that is because if you're correct about this, now let's get back into the realm of we both have opinions and we can disagree respectfully. Number one, if that happened, this is my point, and if I wasn't clear on that, fine. My point is, if that happened, Kate, that's horrible, but that doesn't change how I feel about the broader enforcement angle of that. Because will there be mistakes when you're doing this? Yes, there will. And a lot of those mistakes could be avoided if we could have communication between law enforcement, local law enforcement, and ICE or federal immigration officials. We would not have to have these raids, and these stupid mistakes would not have to happen. And frankly, people, protesters, whether I agree with them or not, would not be dead today because of that, right? So, look, I guess we're going to agree to disagree, but I was not calling you a liar. I was saying that's, to me, where I'm coming from is that's interesting. I'd like to see a little more evidence of that. I take your word for it. That's fine. It doesn't change the broader support that I have for enforcing the law on the inside. Because if there's somebody that did something stupid, let's address that as somebody who did something stupid, not as a broader push by the federal government to oppress people.
And perspective of someone who is not on the ground and not talking to the families that are being picked up and detained, and the children, the people who are in legal status, they entered the country legally, they're doing everything right, they go to their check-in and they get picked up and detained, and their children get taken from them. I see that happen on a daily basis, and it's not okay. This system is not okay. It's cruel, it's inhumane, and if that doesn't bother you, it's just an outright waste of taxpayer dollars.
Okay. All right. Well, Kate, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate your passion, and you're welcome to call on anytime, even if we disagree. But I've got to run. I'm up against the break here, but thank you for your time.